All right, this week's presentation topic is data analysis, and my name is Jack Drexel. So to start off, we have a quote from Carly Fiorina. It says, the goal is to turn data into information and information to insight, which represents the mining, the analysis, and the cognitive computing all in one. So the overview here, we're going to have an explanation on why it's important, brief history, some benefits, challenges, major companies involved, and then we'll wrap it up with a conclusion. Useful information, suggesting conclusions and supporting decision making. Multiple facets and approaches encompassing diverse techniques under a variety of names in different businesses, sciences, and social science domains all are in play here. A brief history, it is said that the beginning of data analysis was marked in ancient Egypt, actually 3,000 years ago, when Egypt was taking a periodic census for building the pyramids. And it has played an important role throughout the ancient history, specifically in census taking. And then before computers were around in the late 1800s, the 1880 census, to be exact, took 7 years and was very expensive. But then by 1890, Herman Hollerith invented the tabulating machine, which you see here. And this machine systematically processed data and was the beginning of modern data analysis using machines. And then the census next time took 18 months and was much cheaper. And then we see data mining appear in the 1990s, and data mining is the computational process to discover patterns in large data sets. This was made possible due to the database and data warehouse technology emergence a couple decades earlier. The business trend of being able to predict customers' needs began to take hold during this time. Then Google Search changed the game in the early 2000s. Larry Page created and his partner created Google Search, and it really shook things up. And now the search system was automated, scalable, and high performing. It now responded with the results you most likely wanted to see within a matter of seconds. And this was an analysis information that the world had never before seen. And then in the early 2010s, Amazon Redshift and Google BigQuery, which they both process a query in thousands of Google surveys, instantaneously were released. And they both markedly reduced costs and lowered the hurdle process for big data, as now information was analyzed on the cloud. So one of the benefits of data analysis is that it lowers costs. If companies can successfully mine this data and then analyze it, they can save costs in such things as, an example would be not wasting advertising in areas that they don't need. It also expedites decision making, in that if a company can determine if an objective is achievable by analyzing the data that is relevant to that objective, and then they determine if it is plausible. Without analyzing this information that is available to them, they would have to go about it in other, more time-consuming ways. It can also be used to create new products and services for customers, such as GE, and they can make an investment in new service models for its industrial products using big data analytics. Also, with continuous analysis of this data, patterns will undoubtedly emerge that will allow companies to understand market tendencies and consumer trends. And then if they're able to see these patterns, they can then take that and apply it throughout all aspects of their business and streamline their business in order to cater to these specific patterns, as opposed to throwing out a net, kind of a catch-all. It can be more specific and they can maximize revenue that way. So some challenges, and while it can reduce costs, it can also be very costly to set up. Technologies and personnel are both required to set up and maintain these analytics, and also the companies that perform it, the companies that contract out these services, are not cheap. And although you can maximize revenue by using it, it is costly to put into effect. But perhaps the greatest challenge is the amount of information that is out there. Big data is taking over the world, it seems, and there's a ton of information out there. There's a lot of fluff that doesn't pertain to one company or the other. So the key is to mine the data that is relevant to your objective in your company and to ignore all of the fluff out there. And this is why data mining and analytics is such a premium now, is that there's so much information out there that can help them, but you just need to find the right data. Similarly to this, if you take some of this data and try to apply it to your objective when it doesn't relate in the first place, it's sort of like putting a square block in a round hole, which you see here. So this is why that it's so important, as I mentioned earlier, to really focus on the data that is specific and particular to what you're searching for, because there's data out there for every sort of thing, and you may not be interested in all of that. So some companies that are big in the game right now is IBM, not surprising, and then Enigma, which is a company that was rated #1 on a top 10 data analytics firms to watch. And then we have Oracle, also not surprising, and SAP, also not surprising, leaders across the board in technology. And then to wrap it all up, we have inclusion. So data analysis has been around for centuries, as I mentioned, back in ancient Egypt, but the term wasn't coined until the 1990s or so. And data mining and cognitive computing, which was seen through, which also includes artificial intelligence. An example would be IBM's Watson, which is now being highly promoted and publicized, a highly intelligent machine that can perform instant analysis of millions of pages of data in seconds. And they are those things are all connected with data analysis. And as I also touched on, there's an exorbitant amount of data out there, and companies such as IBM, Oracle, SAP are now offering algorithms that can be purchased, or offering to come into your company and set up shop in order to analyze the data and mine it for your needs. And there are also some challenges that come along with it. It's very costly. The personnel and technology needed to run it are great and expensive, and it's hard to determine the data that is useful and ignore all of the fluff. And this field is only growing. And there are my references. And that's it.